for giving us this opportunity to speak to you in the house of the Lord. I would like to say thank you, first of all, to Chief Jones, because I know that living in the southeast side of Stockton, the gunshots and the crimes have dropped. They're still there. It's never going to go away completely. Not your fault. It's the community, you know. But I would strongly suggest that you continue to build the relationships with the school districts. As we mentioned before, the statistics say that third grade and on, you're already expected for prison. Then get into the schools and make an extra effort because our kids are growing up with the generation and the belief that the cops are against us. So it's hard for people like us who don't see you as against us, but at the same time, I can tell you that when I see a cop car, I get scared. And it's not that I have anything to hide or I'm doing anything wrong. It's just the perception of if we're going to get pulled over, we're already looked at. That image is bad. But I want to thank you for that. And the Latino community, we want jobs. We need jobs. And volunteering, even if it's volunteering, I know that there are some youth who don't want to live that life, but they're forced in that lifestyle. They're forced to carry weapons because of their threats in that lifestyle that they had. They don't want that. And if you take the time to sit out there and say, why are you doing this? And let me help you get a job, they'll more than likely want to work with you. So bottom line is we need jobs. Our babies need to know that you're going to be there in the schools. Don't come in a uniform all the time. Come in as just regular clothes and let them know you're human just like us. So thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate the comments and would agree. We didn't really discuss too much about the root causes of crime and how we have to try to get ahead of the next generations of crime that are affecting our community. It's critical. We should be on parallel tracks with doing our intervention right now on the violence that's occurring out on the street, but also considering the next possible generations of wave of crime, and that's with youth. It's very important. And we all know, or many of us do, the root causes of crime are often poverty, education, and jobs. And so those are three things we struggle with in this community that we all agree. We've spoken about it. It's something that we have to really work on in our community. And I agree, we need police officers' presence in the schools. They need to see us as police officers as human. We're human just like you, but when we put on the law enforcement uniform, we're out there doing public safety. But it is important for us to work with our youth because that's the future of our community.
To our panel and everybody here, I'd like to really say appreciation that everybody here in the community has come out, and this obviously is very important. Chief Jones, if you could share with us perhaps any ideas you might have for anything that's innovative. I think people here are kind of asking what could change or what could be possibly new that you'd offer for that bridging in the communities. A suggestion, maybe being in school without uniforms on, being more present, being on foot, as Mr. Bivens said, in neighborhoods, so that people just have a closer relationship. So perhaps you could share any ideas?
Yes, we put together, we've got a 3-year strategic plan, and part of that is getting back to basic community policing. And so I'll tell you about some innovative strategies I think we're headed toward, work we have to do, but some of the best things are really not reinventing the wheel, but going back to what works. We've heard community policing or foot patrols. You know, when it comes down to community policing, the definition, there's been books written about it, volumes of books, entire courses taught on it. It comes down to the police officer having the time and will to get out of the patrol car and talk to the community with positive interactions and get to know the community and be responsible for a smaller geographic area. Getting out, talking to the shop owners, getting out of the car, talking to the kids in the park. And that's how you develop relationships. That's how you fight crime, because that's how you find out what's going on in the neighborhoods. Some other things we're working on is we just completed actually the first wave of an entire year of training, and this is called Procedural Justice Police Legitimacy Training. This is training that goes beyond just customer service training. It goes beyond just even cultural sensitivity training. It is about the need for the police to be viewed as legitimate within the very community that they serve, because if they're not viewed as legitimate, we have more than an uphill battle. This is training that came out of Chicago. We worked with Oakland and Salinas on rolling it out here in Stockton. It gets into very difficult conversations, or those courageous conversations among our staff and with community members on race relations, racial reconciliation, the historical perspective we spoke about. It just comes down to this, reminding officers why they signed up to do the work we do, and giving the community a voice and being fair and just in what we do. And we just completed the entire department. We understand it's more than just training. How do you then implement that? And how are you using the training in the field? How are the officers actually applying it? And how are we at the police department evaluating and ensuring that the officers are putting that training to good use out in the field? And we're doing that. We're working with several educational partners. We're working with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the State Attorney General's Office on institutionalizing these values for policing in our community. And those are just a couple examples of training, putting it into practice. What are our plans to get back into community policing? And we're working on a number of things. Thank you.
One of the additional things that the police officers some officers no longer have is consequential fear. And there has to be an element of consequential fear, because we all have consequential fear. And if we do A, then we know that B is going to happen. And unfortunately, some of the bargaining agreements and things that have bureaucracy's hands tied need to be adjusted and addressed, because if there is no consequential fear, then those officers that are rogue officers will continue to do what they have to do, or do what they do, not have to do.
I was just going to comment that, regarding innovative ideas and suggestions from the community. I know that it's been suggested to the police chief, and he's acting on it, is to allow nonprofits to come into the roll call in the morning before the officers go out, to allow us to share with them what it is that we do as agencies. For example, we have mental health services, we have other services that police officers may be able to pass on to out in the community when they're responding to calls. If they respond to a call and they see that someone could use the services that a particular agency provides, they will then be able to make that referral. But they can't make that referral if they don't know what these agencies provide. And that's a simple program, education, that can be done with the police officers. That it's not going to cost any money. It is really going to make the community that much stronger, knowing that the nonprofits and the police force are working together.
Good evening, my name is Cecil Wright, and to continue, Chief, along the area of training, most teachers and most professionals who are certified are required to take a certain amount of training every year to maintain that certification. And I was wondering, does the South Police Department have such a program? And second, along that same line of training, how many of your peer officers are used as train-the-trainers in some of this training that goes on? Because I believe that if you have someone who looks like you from the standpoint of an officer who's doing the training, it's more effective than an outside educator coming in and basically doing that. Thank you.
Sure, thanks for the question. To begin with, we do have annual training, legal mandates. It's called advanced officer training. We follow POST guidelines, which are the Peace Officer Standards and Training Guidelines, a certain amount of hours every year that the police officers have to apply. We go, especially with this procedural justice and police legitimacy training, that's above and beyond just what is mandated or required of our staff. That's something that my command staff and I felt we needed, so we added that training. And the way we did it is this was Chicago, training developed in Chicago with Yale University, reality-based though with what's really going on in the community. So you've got community involved in that as well as your educational institutions. And we knew not everything is cookie cutter. You have to apply it for your community, which we did. And we sent our trained trainers, we sent our staff, some supervisors and officers to Chicago, went through their entire training, and they brought it with them back to Stockton, and then we've even had the Chicago trainers come out and watch how we're doing it. We're learning from each other. I mean, that's what we do in our law enforcement industry, is always scan for best practices, what's working out there. Do we need to be flexible and change the way we're doing business? And that's an example of where we did, in fact, train our own trainers within our department.
Good evening, good evening. And
Good evening. There we go. Jose, good to see you. Bobby, Chief Jones, and Gloria. All of you, it's good to see you here. But look around, we don't have enough of us in this place. We need to be filled up there. The foyer need to be filled up. We need to reach the community. They need to be aware of what's going on around, not only Stockton, but around this country. Not only with the fear of people having with police officers, I myself also wanted to become a police officer. I just couldn't make it. But anyway, just a couple of weeks ago, I was violated. I walked in my house, not 10 minutes later, my car got shot up by 6 guys shooting back and forth at each other. Community, we need to get involved. I started calling all of my friends around my neighborhood that I knew that we established a neighborhood watch to see if they were okay. Police response was good. They were right there. But it's our children, it's our neighbors. They're shooting back and forth at one another. We need to come together and police. Hello? We need to stop this, nip it quickly. We know if our neighbors are not doing it right, then we need to get that these kids are not going to school. We need to find out where they're going, because they're watching us go to work and they're going inside of our houses. We need change. And the change has to start now, and it has to start with me. It has to start with you. I have more to say, but we need more open forums. Thank you.
Hi everybody. My concern is I'm a community from Macon, Georgia, but I moved to Stockton, California. And my concern is the mental disability. My son was, I feel like sometimes the police can be the problem, taking people's lives in the community. My disabled son, James, was beat up. And I'm his mother, Teresa. Single mother, you know, so I was single parents. But my son was beat up. The Stockton Police Department, I feel like, I shake my head. It's sad. My boy is 18, but his IQ is over 10 to 5-year-old. And he was beat up by the Stockton Police Department dog. They let the dog out the car. And the thing is that my neighbor, Katrina Walker, got beat up. But my son was like violated. He was in handcuffs. And they watched my boy lay on the ground like a circus. I was at church feeding the homeless November 23rd, 2014. What about the disabled victims? The disabled people? What about the community of the innocent bystanders having committed a crime but have been shot down and killed by some of the Stockton, not all of them, evil? To me, a lot of bloodshed have been shed in Stockton, California communities. What about a change in some of the police officers that on the force that got trying to take their power overhead and try to get in the communities? Working with the disabled people, America with Disabilities Act. My son was an innocent bystander, but and he was beat up but I just want to know the reason why, and I want to know when a change is coming with the